everybody, and welcome to the inaugural Michelin 992 Endurance Cup, powered by Porsche Motorsport. And we are ready for a brilliant day of motor racing. And this is a 12-hour straight-through race. The start of a brand new race. The Michelin 992 Endurance Cup, powered by Porsche Motorsport, is underway. The two blue and white cars at the front of the field.
Michelin 992 Endurance Cup powered by Porsche Motorsport prévu à 15h25. Et bien évidemment, comme pour les pilotes de l'Eurocup 3, eh bien, la météo est venue un peu rabattre les cartes. C'est la première fois que les pilotes vont évoluer sur piste humide en cette fin de semaine. Ils n'ont pas pu découvrir ces conditions lors du roulage d'hier, ni même ce matin. Et donc, on va voir comment cela va se passer. On espère sans trop de soucis.
Hello everyone, welcome to what is, at this particular second in time, a glorious Spa-Francorchamps. Blue skies over this 7-kilometre circuit in the Ardennes, but we've had all kinds of weather today, and that is going to present a massive challenge for our Michelin 992 Endurance Cup competition. It's qualifying day today, and we're going to set our grid for our 12-hour race, which will kick off tomorrow morning at 9:45. Myself and Joe Bradley are in the commentary box to guide you through our qualifying session, and we've got Snowy and Nick Damon down in the pit lane. Let's head down to them now.
Thank you, Ben, and in future, thank you, Joe. We are in the pit lane, as it's quite great, and as you'll see, I'm sure I'll get to spend a look at the look at this water. It absolutely tipped it down about 20 minutes ago during the Formula 4 race, and then it stopped. Now we've got bright sun, but there's nothing as bright and as sunny as young Peter Snowden. Peter, exciting qualifying session and a bit new for this year.
I'm still reading from the young bit. It's completely. I know you're going to throw me off kilter that quickly. Yeah, I mean, what conditions? We were watching that race, weren't we? And it tipped it down in different parts of the circuit, and we were watching Rouge, Radion, and the Camel Straight was wet, and at the end of it, it was perfectly dry. So what do you do? What did they do in the end? Red flag it, 2 corners, 2 laps, job done.
Now, of course, it's going to make this first session very interesting because it's going to be a drying session. Now, it's following similar Creventic rules. We've got first, and then you have to put out your other 2 drivers in any order you like, unless, of course, you've only got 2 drivers, in which case someone has to come out twice. But this is where it changes from your standard Creventic. This is the Porsche Michelin 992 Endurance Cup, and the way it changes is, for a start, you have to have a fresh set of tyres for every single 15-minute segment. But, of course, the big change, Snowy, is that when we finish these 3 sets of 50 minutes, it's not the end of qualifying, is it?
Well, that's just for 11th downwards, isn't it? Basically, you've got a top 10 after. And, of course, they're starting on wet tyres now, so they haven't scrubbed in any slicks in during this. And it's a dry weather, but it's not a dry track, is it?
Well, no, not around the track. Anyway, so as I keep trying to prompt you, what happens after this session of 3:15 minutes, which is different from normal Creventic events?
I just said there's a top 10 shootout.
I didn't know. Really? Didn't say that. This is going to be a top 10 shootout. So basically, we've got 2 lots of qualifying. And we will have, first of all, we'll set the, it's 11 to 20, and then the top 10 will go out again. But there'll be a half-hour break. We'll be back here down with you, and they'll be going out one by one, sort of like Porsche Nürburgring style. But enough of us trying to work out what on earth's going on and how the weather's going to matter. Let's find out what's going on with our very good friends. Oh, it's Ben and Joe.
a little flavour of how soggy and wet it is on the ground down in pit lane. We've got cars queuing up to go out on circuit, but Joe Bradley, this is a difficult decision for the guys to work out what to use tyre-wise, because, I mean, they haven't had a chance to see what it's like around the back of the circuit, but certainly around here, it is wet conditions.
Looking at the state of the track, Ben, that's a wet tyre track across the pit straight. However, as we've seen so many times here at Spa, out on track, it can be completely dry. I think at the moment, though, looking at the way that the spray is coming off the cars as they leave the pit lane, go down the hill through that awesome Eau Rouge, it's very, very awesome in the dry when everything's stable and balanced. However, when the track is wet and it's a bit of a voyage of discovery, I would hate to have to discover what the track surface is feeling like over the brow at Radion in these conditions at the moment. Quite tricky. Certainly looking soggy all the way around to the far end of the circuit. This is where sometimes you have different weather around La Source to the back end here at Bruxelles. We're pretty much as far away as we possibly can be from the paddock at this point, and there is a slight dry line in the middle of the circuit there. That will burn off pretty quick, because as I say, it is sunny conditions. Yeah, the sun's come out, and it's not just bright and sunny, it's actually hot. The temperature from the sun is going to quickly get rid of this water and dissipate the water, that's the surface water that we can see at the moment, as long as there's no further rain coming along. And from what I can see, Ben, there isn't any more rain forecast this evening. Indeed, dare I say it, for the rest of the weekend. The blue sky's breaking through there, the clouds beginning to break up, and the temperature is rising. It's going to be very humid for the boys in those fire suits. So this is the 992 Endurance Cup, a single event that was first introduced last year by Creventic for the same 992 vehicle that is used across many of our Carrera Cup championships across the world. It means that there's 200 or 300 cars that are eligible to participate in this race, and it's an endurance race, and it's a 12-hour straight through. So we start at 9:45 tomorrow morning, and we finish at 9:45 in the evening. You can have 3 drivers, you can have 4 drivers. There is no team that have chosen 5 drivers, but you could, in theory, enter 5. In qualifying, 1 driver qualifies in part 1, 1 in part 2, 1 in part 3. We combine those 3 times to create an average rather than a total, but it's the same difference. And that will set the grid for, as Nick and Snowy said, 11th down to 25th, with the top 10 being established by a shootout a little bit later on this evening. It's a great team effort, isn't it? Because you've got 3 drivers contributing to get the first 10 into the top 10 shootout. Then it comes down to the superstar that you have in the team, the quickest drivers that we'll see out this evening for that grid from 10th up to pole position. We will see that. Let's head down to the pits, Nick.
Obviously, we've had practice action so far, and we were told that this particular car, the Fulgenzi Racing, number 17, was not going to be able to take part. It had a big accident in P2, but if you see a pile of broken Porsche parts, they've replaced it. And despite the protestations of many around the pit lane, they've got that one going, but that's not the case a bit further down. Follow me, Sven. Here we go now, so we have a look a little bit further down the pit lane. He's coming back, he's lost me, he's over here. We're out of sync with it. We haven't been working together, me and Zap, for a while. But one car that's not taking place in qualifying is the 121, the Black Falcon Porsche with Hal Barbosa, not that one, William Freire and Hal Gonkarev. That had a problem. The front left was kind of severely damaged during the practice session. They are rebuilding it. The car will take place, but it's not going to take part in any of the qualifying sessions.
Thank you, Nick. The Fulgenzi car, that had a big off, and it had a big off at that usual spot at the top of Radion, and it was clear that the car looked a lot worse, and it was mainly bodywork damage and not the actual shell, and the main part of the suspension pickup points on the chassis were fine and intact, and the team, cracking job, sterling job to get that car prepped. I walked into the garage and said, car going to be good? Yes. thumbs up. Tomorrow? No. And he looked at me as if I was like, how dare you? Of course not just tomorrow. It's going to be out for qualifying. It's great to see that, but bad luck for the Black Falkland team. We've got a little bit more work to do than perhaps the Fulgenzi guys did.
It's not completely straight on every panel. There's a few bits and dents that have been left in, but a lot of the front end of that car has been replaced, and the rear bumper. It must have done a sort of a 360, hit the front, hit the rear kind of thing, because it did seem like all 4 corners were being replaced. But how important is qualifying? That is always the age-old question of a 12-hour race. I think the thing about this race particularly is it's a single make, and it's going to be hard to make a gap, I think, over the 12 hours. We might see sort of pack racing almost, and it's going to be very much dependent on the driver. There are a few teams, and I'm not going to name names, who are saying it's not going to be that important to get into the top 10. It's very important tonight at dinner when we have bragging rights as to who is the quickest here and who will start and get that infamous interview with Nick Damon as the pole interview. But yeah, I mean, arguably, you know, you don't necessarily have to be in the top 10 going forward for a 12-hour race. You may have to work the strategies a little bit to get you into into contention. But I think the main reason for people's attitude towards that is we're allowed 10 sets of Michelins for this weekend. That includes 1 set per 15-minute qualifying segment. Each driver will get a new set. That's slightly different to 24H series rules. That allows only 1 set across the 3 segments of qualifying. Well, here, for the 992 Endurance Cup, we're allowed a new set of Michelins for each of those 15-minute runs. Each of those sets are then going to be allocated and deployed sometime during the race. As and when that will be, well, remains to be seen. And that's a decision that each team will take on an individual basis. But that's perhaps another reason why you're going to need 4 sets at the end of qualifying if you qualify through. Now, I think you need about 8 to 10 sets if you have a completely clear run with the odd safety car that's going to interject tomorrow. But it's going to all be down to choice and tactic, isn't it? What you are talking about, though, is sets of dry tyres. I am talking about sets of dry tyres. How many people out there at the moment are on a dry set versus a wet set is not an answer I think we can give you at the moment. But once the times start coming in, it will give us an idea of potentially what has been chosen. I think it's too wet for dries at the moment. And so this first session could well be one of those sessions that is split. Do you go on the dry set for the very end of the session? We've still got 7 minutes remaining, hoping that you've got temperature and it dries sufficiently, or do you play it safe and stay wet? The problem is, of course, Spa. It's a long track. It's longer than the usual sort of 90-second, 100-second lap. We've got 2.5 minutes here, 2 minutes 41 just been achieved by the first run by. But yeah, I mean, last year's qualifying, the quickest average time was 2 minutes 22. I'm not sure we're going to see that matched here because of these wet conditions to start things off. And one of the first cars across the line is the Red Camel car, and that car has just put in a posted time of a 2:41, is it? 2:41 has been... No, we've still yet to see time posted. No, I've got it there. Sorry, Ben, wrong page. 2:38. So a 2 minute 38. Is the track coming to these drivers? Is the track getting drier in areas that they can use? More grip through the turns? Well, that was Luke, I think, just finishing a lap, wasn't it? Yeah. So he's done a second lap, and it is another 2:38.6. So an improvement, but not markedly different to the lap before. And if you were seeing a big difference in the way it was drying, then you would see a big difference in his lap time, 1 lap to the next. Actually, we're not looking at Luke Breukers here. We're looking at the number 7 of Robin Knutsen for the Estonia racing team, EST1 Racing. They are 3rd at the moment. But Breukers must be just ahead of this lot because he's just finished his first sector of the lap, and it's been a slow first sector, so it won't be an improvement for Breukers on this lap. It may be Nick and Snowy, who are in the pit lane, may be able to start some inquiries as to which teams are on what tyre.
I'll be amazed if someone's been brave enough to go out on slicks. We've seen the cars perform with quite an element of grip and downforce through the turns, so I'll be amazed if we see somebody out there.
There's some spectacular liveries down in the paddock. There is one. Obviously, being a standalone event weekend, you kind of do what you like, and we've got all kinds of Technicolor on the field. The 35 machine is run by Hans Wijs, I'm going to say, Motorsport from the Netherlands.
Wijs. We're
ignoring the J completely.
Dutch, isn't it?
Yeah? Okay.
I've checked that, Ben. I have checked that with our Dutch friends.
There's far too many letters in that get ignored when you're trying to work out a Dutch name. And so many of these names perhaps new to you for the Creventic series. There are a couple of familiar teams and familiar names. And then from the world of motorsport, we do have 3 gold drivers. Tom Coronel possibly being the most famous, but you'll have heard of Harry King as well. And the 2023 Super Cup champion champion Dylan Pereira from the Luxembourg. Doing a single race. We still have lots of different category races in between.
They're all the 992 Cup car,
Same car.
From Porsche that we see in the various national series, literally across the world, from Australasia through Asia and backwards towards Europe, the Benelux series, the Brazilian Carrera Cup and the North American Carrera Cup Championship, all the same car running here today. However, we've classified them with, and it's basically down to driver lineup. So we've got 6 cars in the Pro class, the professional class. We've got 3 cars in the Pro-Am class, 5 cars in the Am-B, I'll come to that in a moment, and 11 cars in the Am-S. Now, the Am-B, the B standing for bronze, they are with bronze drivers. All of the drivers are bronze lineup. The Am class, I think you're allowed at least 1 silver to put you into. If you've got 1 silver in your driver lineup and the rest are bronze, then you end up in the Am silver class.
I hear the microphone open down in pit lane, so we've got 3 minutes remaining. We'll get to the sharp end of this. Nick, quickly down to you.
Actually, it's me,
Snowy,
Ben.
hi.
Thank you. It's Snowy. Just in reference to your comment about tyres for this session, Joe is absolutely right. Of course, nobody is out and slicked. But I had a quick catch-up with Harley Horton, who's a number 17 Fulgenzi entry, and they reckon that Q3 is going to be a gamble and probably worth slicks, just before we get to end of Q1.
That's good news. That means we at least give us an idea of where we are at. A 2:37.6 is our pole position time right now. Gabriel Piana in the 48 machine, ahead of Sebastian Framert and Luke Breukers. That's your top 3 silver and bronze drivers out there at the moment. I guess you'll save your gold, if you have one, until the final sector. Yellow flags being fiddled with or flying at the back of shot there? I think just being fiddled with.
I think fiddled with behind the barrier. That's going to be out of driver's shot, wasn't it? Just at the back of the of our live stream there. Time's coming down, Ben, and we can see dry patches where the heat of the sun is certainly doing a great job in dissipating this wetness from the track, and it might be earlier. It might be earlier than the third segment, as was mentioned by Harley Horton. It might be that if this sun continues to shine, which it will, and the track continues to be run on, we can see little bits of lighter grey tarmac colour, which means that we are going to have a dry line. And all you really need, Ben, as you well know, is a 1 car's width of dry track, and then we can go on to slicks for qualifying, because there is just no need to move offline. And if you can drive as accurately as you can, staying on those rail lines, then you will be able to have a completely dry run. But it's going to be a very, very brave team, very brave driver who does plumb for slick tyres at this stage.
The most important thing at this present moment in time is basically set a lap time as late as possible, because the track is getting better for sure. We've got a couple of cars already in the pits. The number 3 of Pedro Torres for Bas Kuiten has come in, as has Edwin Schilt in the 35. So they aren't taking advantage of these better conditions. But we are also not seeing that many green sectors out there. So perhaps it's in that greasy sort of period where you're actually wearing down the wet tyre and not getting the best out of it. and the tyre is getting worse in proportion to the track not getting as much better. I'm not sure I've explained myself particularly correctly there, but
I think I knew what you meant.
Yeah, I mean, we're not seeing that many greens, are we?
Yeah, we're not. And as the session pretty much comes to a close, the checkered flag being readied for this first 15-minute segment coming to a conclusion. At the moment, it's the number 30 HRT entry. Sebastian Freimut has put the quickest time in, and that's a 2 minutes 37.3. 2 minutes 37.386 to give it its full version. Second quickest is the Lush Motorsport by Black Falcon, who were, let's not forget, the winners here at this event last year.
But Joe, hold your horses before you go any further, because we've got to have a lot of improvements before we get to the end of this session.
Oh, yeah.
We've got actually Kyoto Fujinami in the 666 Team Parker Racing machine. He is a super Formula and Super GT driver, and he's down in 13th position, but he's set a purple sector 2, so he's coming to the end of the lap now, and depending on how good that purple sector 2 is, we might see a new pole position from Team Parker Racing. So need to try and keep an eye out for the 666 car. Not entirely sure where it is.
I did notice, Ben.
Boom, there we go, pole position.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, Fujiyama came into the pits on lap 3. He didn't go past the pits on lap 3, he came in, and I'm wondering what tyres that number, the 666 numbered car, might be on. Surely not. Surely you can't have gambled on the slick tyre at that early stage. Again, that's down. We'll leave that down to our roving reporters in the pit lane. They might be able to shed some light. But Kyoto Fujinami, absolutely on it, and he's just been pipped by Luke Breukers with a 2 minutes 36.127 there. Luke across the line, and provisional fastest, not pole position, dare we say it. It's not about pole position, it's about qualifying into the top 10 shootout coming up later.
Seb Lejeune Racing goes up to 3rd position with Marc Guyot in that machine. Lots of checkered flags already being taken. Just trying to see if we've got any improvements further down the field. We're going to see improvements across the board, I think. Might as well just sit on this shot, because Sebastian Freimut goes up to 2nd position, and Gabriel Piana takes the fastest lap time. So just as I expected, lots of improvements right at the end of the session. Still got people to take checkered flags. Lucas Wolf comes over the line and gets fastest in AM Silver for the PT operated by Manthey Racing. What about Bart Van Helden further down? He's got 2 green sectors to his lap.
Taking chunks of time as well. 2:34.9 from Piana in the Lush Motorsport by Black Falcon. Winners here, remember, last year with a slightly different driver lineup. What have you got, Ben?
There's 3 more cars to finish off their laps, and they are the last 3. And actually the last 2, no improvements. So we have now got everybody's lap times in. But interestingly, because it's wet and because it's right at the end of the session, big gaps between them all.
Yeah, massive gaps, biggest gaps that we would see, and that's because of that's all down to track position and just where you were when you were getting towards that checkered flag. And as you were mentioning, Ben, the track evolving literally by the second. Every time you are going into these corners on each lap, you are going into a different track, you're going into a different track condition than the previous lap before. And when you consider just how quick the entry is at this section here, double gauche, it's a massively fast turn-in, and you really need the car, really need to be confident with the car's grip as you turn into that first part, and then even more so as you apply the power to go through the second apex of double gauche. And at the moment, Ben, that track is not instilling confidence in any of these drivers. It's a bit of a brave driver who's going to be getting the quickest times.
0.7 of a second advantage to Gabriel Piana in the Lush Motorsport by Black Falcon. They are the provisional pole after qualifying 1 over Sebastian Freimut in the HRT performance machine. Then there's another big gap of about 0.7 of a second to Luke Breukers in the Red Camels Jordan Pro car. 4 Pro cars in the top 4, as you would expect. Kyoto Fujinami in the 666 Team Parker Racing. That's known as 7-7 Racing, annoyingly, in the Japan Cup in the SRO series over in Japan. They were racing there last weekend. I was there too, so very odd to see 666 here, having flown, like me, across the world to go motor racing again. We're going to see their normal drivers, Banksy, who runs the team a little bit later on, much closer between them, Breukers and Wolf, and then another half second back to Mark Gio, the second of our AM Silvers. Pro-Am is the MDM Motorsport 127 machine, and AM B pole goes to Danny Stuttard for Q1 track racing, car 56, down in 16th position. A field spread of something along the lines of 15 seconds in that first session.
Yeah, no surprise. 4 of the Pro Class cars filling the top 4. The first of the AMs, that's in 5th. You mentioned there the PTE with Mantai of Lucas Wolf. He's in the AM S, the AM Silver class. First of the Pro-Am cars down in 8th with Hans Weiss in the MDM Motorsport entry. And the 2 that's 37.9. Again, the lap times aren't really that representative of where the track is right now, because by the time we have this short break and then the second drivers take to the track to get out for the second part of qualifying, the track's going to be drying all the time. And okay, Ben, I'm going to throw this one at you, mate.
Oh,
if you're sat there in the pit lane there, you're the driver, you're the team or the engineer, what are you going to think? What are you thinking with regards to tyre? Is it going to be worth a gamble on slicks?
I think by the end of the session, yes. I mean, looking at the track conditions even into turn 1 there, you're going to have a 15-minute session. By the end of the session, slicks are going to work. I suppose the person to really speak to and ask the question is Gabriel Piana down with our pit reporters.
Gabriel Piana, congratulations. Fast in that first session and by quite a way.
Thank you. Of course, difficult session. You can only really screw it up in a session like this. So, because of course, difficult conditions, and it was clear immediately that the last lap would have been the one. So I was just trying to get out of traffic the whole session, and then it was it worked out quite well. Of course, not perfect, but better than nothing.
Is it soaking wet around the whole track, or are certain bits drier than others?
Oh, realistically, I would have wanted to have slicks already maybe towards the end of the session, because it rained quite heavy, but only the first sector, and the last sector was a bit damp, but the rest didn't look too bad, to be honest, straight from the beginning. We saw also the Formula 3 race, the Eurocar Formula 3 days, stayed on slicks. I don't know. I think maybe if somebody gambled for dry at the end, they would have done a better performance, but from now on, it's dry slicks for sure.
Great stuff, thank you, Gabriel. It's interesting, actually, because we obviously, one of the rules has been to have one set of slicks per session. Now, obviously, they're on wets there, which is going to save them some time. The wets are all sitting by the side of the cars. I'm not sure everyone's going to go on to dries. Just to answer a little question that Joe raised about the Japanese driver in the Parker Racing machine, he came in on lap 3 for a tyre pressure adjustment and went out again, but stayed on wets the whole time.
Nice, and it makes such a big difference that just a PSI or 2 of pressure in the tyre, once you've got the tyre up to temperature, of course, operating on track, making that tyre pressure adjustment to a hot tyre gives you much, much better information to then go out for the rest of the session. So that obviously benefited Fujinami. And we now await our second session of qualifying. A complete change of drivers. For the majority of the drivers, a complete change of tyre, because I think you would still want to be on it's a question for actually our pet racing driver that we've got for the weekend would be, do you want a brand new set of wets? Is there any point in having a brand new set of wets with those really sharp edges, because there's no water to cut through anymore, it's just greasy, or do you go slicks and just wait for them to get up to temperature, or do you use the old wets you've got that are slightly worn down but they've got temperature in them and therefore are sort of more intermediate?
Yeah, I was going to say creating it a bit of an intermediate where the blocks, the amount of rubber in the blocks isn't as great, and there's less heat generated, and you can, it's very, very quickly, you can burn a set of wets off on a dry track. And just looking out the window here, Ben, at the beautiful day that it's become after that massive downpour that we had for the support race, the Formula 4 race, or sorry, the Euro Cup 3 race, not Formula 4 at all. Yeah, that absolutely torrented down. However, there's becoming very little sign of that now. Just here on the pit straight, we've got a beautifully dry track. So it just depends on what the rest of the track and how quickly the rest of the track is going to dry. But I'm sure that's at the forefront of everybody's mind in that pit lane.
Standing by then for qualifying 2 here at Spa-Francorchamps. A sunny day, but a slippery day if you're out on circuits. And this is the Michelin 992 Endurance Cup race. A standalone event with a very, very worthwhile prize for those drivers that are successful at the end of tomorrow's proceedings. We are hoping that tomorrow will be a dry day. To be honest, this was kind of supposed to be relatively dry today as well.
But forecast tomorrow to be dry.
But it is Spa.
And hot.
It is Spa.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go down to snowy.
C'est parti, drapeau vert pour la deuxième partie des qualifications. Et si vous ne connaissez pas le principe, bien sûr.
1, 2, 3 car. I spoke to Team Parker and they said slicks definitely halfway through this session, most certainly part 3. Standing by this 1, 2, 3 car, Mr. Piani just said he wanted slicks on that last lap. They've just wheeled the wets in and brought out a set of slicks for it. That's the 1, 2, 3. So there's your first car, definitely.
Well, you need to keep your eyes open for all of them because we have green at the end of pit lane and the session is live. We've got a couple of cars going straight out, but braking zone into Les Combes at the end of the Kemmel Straight is bone dry. So for me, that straight away suggests slick tyres are the way forward and get that temperature in them. There are going to be wetter parts, but let the dry tyre burn that wet circuit off. And actually, so far, we haven't seen any of it. We're now down to Bruxelles and it's still bone dry. Snowy, is that you?
Yeah, you can just hear the Losh Motorsport by Black Falcon number 48 car going out. That's the one that's on slicks. The car on the garage next to it is the number 48. That's awaiting its tyre choice. Right behind that is 100. That is out onto slicks now. So I'm suspecting the vast majority of people are going out on slicks for this Q2 session.
Yeah, the wettest part of the track looks like the pit lane at the moment, guys. It's very unrepresentative of what we're seeing out on track as the number 100. That car, the number 100, the Denham Motorsports, another Black Falcon team car. That car looking like it's that definitely has got slicks on. It's in the AM-B class, currently 3rd in that class, currently 19th overall, wanting to improve. But we're pretty much around all of the track now as the cars are through campus, heading towards Blanchimont Bend, and I think the racing line is clear to see that it's a dry track now with just a few damp patches to negotiate.
Some interesting people to look out for in this session. So far, drivers being registered. We've got Rick Broikers in the number 9 red Camel Jordan. Certainly of that entry, the best of those drivers, although Rick's still officially a silver, although the quality of a gold for me. We also have Tom Coronel in the MDM Motorsport 127. He is a gold driver. Charles Schwartzman in the GP Elite machine. In the number 14, Darren Curry in the Q1 track racing machine, the Australian, who's been racing slightly odd silhouette Aussie V8 thing in the Creventic series. I can't remember the exact name of it now.
It's Mark Carr's V8, isn't it?
No, it's not a Mark Carr's V8, no, but it's very, very similar, yeah. And also racing the SRO series over in Australia, so travels back and forth for his racing. Other names out there, just waiting for them to come. Yinglong Bao is a very well-known Chinese driver. And just a couple more others.
Jimmy Yebra in the Bas Kooten car. Jimmy, class winner in the North American Carrera Cup. I can hear the pit mic open up. What have you got for his point? Apart from that wonderful soundbite.
Well, need an unsafe release there, Joe. Sorry, I just sorry if I cut over because of the noise in the background there. That was the 21 car that the Michelin Motorsport entry that did go out and do a trial lap, as did 23 has just come in behind me as well on wets, and they've come in and done one lap and gone straight onto slicks. So those that went onto slicks chose wisely to start with. And I think indeed now the number 88 is doing the same, going past. It looks like it's on wets. 48 going out on slick. So yeah, it's the right tyre. It's not even hot for the session. It's straight away.
Okay, so what's better then, to be straight out on slicks at the start of the session, or a couple of laps later where the track conditions will be better for a better slick tyre?
I think with a 15-minute session, you need to get out there on the right tyre and just
Straight
drive
away.
carefully. As you say, you can drive slower.
I mean, actually, I don't know if you can see a screen, but there is a dry line pretty much around the whole circuit. There is no real risk of I haven't seen anywhere where the racing line has wet on it. Off racing line, yes, but everywhere else seems pretty good.
And the clear difference with this event is all the cars are of the same performance level. So there's very little, or there should be very little, having to move offline and off that dry line onto the damp track. And if you do, it'll be because you have finished your fast run and maybe just getting out the way of people. But then you'll be even more careful than you would be normally. We are seeing the first times being posted. And again, look at that, Ben, 10 seconds a lap quicker just in that little break we had. Sun shining down on the track, and the track's evolved into being 10 seconds quicker. 2 minutes 25.4 is the quickest time that we've seen all day, and that's the Dream 2 drive. The Taurus Tubular entry has gone to the top of the screen. That's the 333 numbered car.
So just to explain then, on the graphics on your left-hand side, that's going to show you the average lap time of the two drivers, so of Q1 and of Q2. You will hear us talking about the fastest time in this particular session. That at the moment, as you say, is Taurus, which Tom Coronel now claims as a 2:25. But on the left-hand side there, you're only going to see the average lap time, which means the 3:33 for the moment has that pole position time. Back to the pits.
That's been in the pits for quite a while. It went out on wets, and the delay was actually going to the back of the garage and finding the slicks warmed up, ready to put on the car. That's what's taken the time. Clearly not expecting them to go onto slicks so quickly, which is evidence of the track drying out far quicker than I think some drivers were expecting.
On board with Rick Broikers in the number 9 Red Camels Jordan machine, and he is heading on to another lap. He's just gone fastest of all. A 2:22.4.
Yeah, and then he was quickly beaten. So 2:22.4 as that caught me out. Not as quick an average though as the HRT Performance Car 30. And even though Hugo Ellis only did a 2:22.8, not as quick as Rick did. Rick's got the quickest individual lap time of a 2:22.4, but it's only given them an average of 2:29.3 at the moment, so he needs to find a chunk of speed there to get that average up, if that's even capable. I mean, 2:22.4, time's coming down all of the time. Team Parker, they're currently running third. Tachi Watari has put in a 2:23.8, and they've got an average time putting them in third place.
Still purple sectors from Rick Broikers in Sector 1. Purple Sector 2 at the moment, which means the fastest Sector 2 for Taichi Watare, the teammate to Banksy at Team Parker Racing for this weekend, but normally 7-7 Racing over in Japan. They're also going to be racing at the Spa Suzuka 1,000 kilometers next weekend, would you believe? So Okayama one weekend, Spa the next one for a 12-hour, and then I think it's about 6.5 hours, the Suzuka 1,000 kilometers next weekend. So that's incredibly busy for Taichi and Banksy. Banksy, obviously not his real name, but we don't know his real name. And
is he Japanese?
Yes, but it's not the Banksy.
No, it's
for obvious reasons.
Banksy, isn't it? He spells it.
Yeah. Banks. Harley Horton's got himself up to second fastest in this session, going well in that rebuilt Fulgenzi machine, but it only good enough for fourth average right now.
And there's Watari in the Team Parker car, 2 minutes 20.7 for Watari. And the 666 car back to the top of the screens with the 2:28.4. That average coming down all the time, Ben, as well.
I'll get into the story of why it's 666 in tomorrow's broadcast, but there's a good story and a funny twist to it that I can tell you all about. It's got a bit of a nickname now, that car, in the SRO Championships. Tobias Muller goes fastest in the 48, and they were very, very strong in the first session, and so they take the provisional pole right now, and by a country margin. We still don't have times on the board for car 88, car 56, 911, so 911, and the 23 from Team Lap Time Performance. Those 4 still missing lap times, but they're all out on circuits, as we covered at the top of the show. Just the Black Falcon 121 will not be qualifying today.
Time on the clock, 5 minutes, then 2/3 of the second 15-minute segment already gone. Time just ebbs away here at Spa. It's a long lap, longer, not quite as long as the Nürburgring, of course, but it's still a 2.5-minute lap at the moment. And 15 minutes might sound like a long time, but when you start lapping here, and as we saw in the first segment, we had cars pulling in and just bleeding out a bit of air just to optimize tire pressures, and that paid off, didn't it? Well, if you've got time to do that, that's always a good idea to do that. At the moment, though, leaving off where they did in this event last year, at the top of the screen with the number 4, the 48 Losch Motorsport by Black Falcon, Tobias Muller has gone quickest. 220.733, giving them an average of a 227.8. That's put the number 48 car back at the front of the field. The 666 car we mentioned, that's still down there. And then rounding off the last of the qualifiers for the top 10 qualifying coming up is the MDM Motorsport. Tom Coronel, 222.0 is still a little bit off the pace of the cars ahead of him. So Tom needing to find a bit more pace in that MDM number 127. And
usually Coronel is strongest in these slightly trickier conditions. He's jumped into this car a couple of times this year in the Creventic series. Doesn't do a lot of racing himself any longer, putting all of his efforts and focus into his son Rocco, who is absolutely dominating Ginetta Juniors in the UK, having been a European karting champion. And so, yeah, you can't fund yourself and your son, as Tom is finding out. Lots of help from Red Bull, though. He's a Red Bull driver, is Rocco now. Probably emotionally rather than financially well. You know, I would imagine, you know, you hear about drivers and their kids taking up racing, and they just, you know, they just get so much into it and get so much more satisfaction out of watching their offspring competing in the way that they did all those years ago. That's great to see. Tom's son showing the genes are running pretty strong. The speed genes. Well, they were. The Coronel family. Yeah, even from father to the Coronel twins, because father used to be a motorbike racer, and I think even grandfather, from what I remember, in the early days of motorsport, was involved. So it's one of those families that have always been involved in motorsport from the very beginning. And of course, Rocco's mother also raced. Yeah, that's right. They're the family Spart, incredibly successful racers, and of course own or did own Ascari race circuit down in Spain, and a couple of Formula 1 cars along with it. So yes, the blood flows very quickly through those veins. Very, with very those genes. Yeah. Watching Team Parker Racing, the 666 is that Team Parker Racing 7-7 team from Japan. Banksy Racing written on the side for this weekend, and not as good a middle sector, and that's where they're losing out right now. So I think the best of the Michelin tyre is dropping off. Now, remind me of, tell me if I'm wrong here, Joe, but I seem to remember talking about the characteristics of these Michelins for 2025 in Creventic series, as they have like 2 or 3 laps where they are absolutely mega sort of qualifying laps. Then they have a bit of a cliff that they drop off, but then they stay consistent for a long period of time. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what you race, whether it's a go-kart or an LMP1 car, a GTP car, and here in this case a Carrera Cup car, the Michelin tyre that they are on is the N3, and the slightly different tyre than what we see these cars run in the 24H series. That's an H, I think,
a Michelin H tyre, which is a more robust tyre. So here we've got the exact same tyre that we would be on in any national series. It's exactly the same tyre, and just by its very nature, a brand new set, a brand new tyre will have an optimum lap. And with tyre warmers being allowed, with the track now heating up, that optimum lap will pretty much come across the line into your first flying lap. That will be the optimum lap, and then it'll slowly go away from you and kind of plateau to a point. But you've got that optimum opportunity really to maximize and optimize your lap time, but that comes down to a lot of pressure on the driver, who has to absolutely nail it. He needs to be she needs to be absolutely on it for that optimum lap. And but
the track wasn't there at the
track wasn't there. No. So that's kind of out the window. So by the time these tyres have come in, they're scrubbed in, they've reached their operating temperature, and they're being, you know, just managed and eased into the session. Some drivers, of course, they're not so experienced, and they're not so hotshot drivers. They'll take their time. The amateur driver, let's say, they'll take their time to produce that lap time, and they'll go quicker on lap 2, quicker even more on lap 3, and so on and so forth. So it's only really the hotshots that can really perform and optimize that run when that tyre is there.
We've got some lap times coming in still. The session has just gone to checkered, but it doesn't mean that the session is over. Yinglong Bao in the 88 just comes across the line to improve his lap time, and has taken the checker flag. Doesn't change their position. They stay in 16th as an average in that car 88, and it was actually 16th fastest was Yinglong Bao in the session. Actually should be known as Bao Yinglong, yes, as he is Chinese. It's the other way around. Still green sectors across the field. Watch out for Glenn Van Berlo. And we've got his time, I think, on the screen there. The 25 car halfway around the lap, and he's got a green sector 1, but it is sector 2 where nobody seems to be able to improve, and I think that's where the tyres are showing their age. We might see Charles Forchman also improve in a GP Elite machine, and he's actually come across the line now, a 2:22.2, so that was a good improvement from Forchman, up to 13th himself and 12th and 13th average.
We've still got to see Yuka Honkavuri across the line. He's the fastest of the AMS cars, and there he goes across the line. There doesn't improve. 222 dead with a best of a 221.1, a little bit off the pace. He remains in 4th place and remains at the front of the AMS, the AM Silver class, the PTE operated by Manthai car that is in 4th place. So
I think that's pretty much it. A couple of cars coming to the line now, but I'm not sure we're going to see much improvement from any of these. Denner Motorsport by Black Falcon running 2 all Brazilian lineups. There's the clearly Brazilian car with that livery. Amazing to see, actually. I haven't worked out the different nationalities that we've got across the entry list, but there's some pretty diverse countries that we don't yet always normally see represented in European motorsport. And actually, even someone like the Spa 24 Hours here at the SRO GT Championship don't have that many Brazilians doing that, or Japanese. And of course, we've got Jimmy Lieb from the Dominican Republic. And we could carry on. We will do tomorrow. But checker flags out for all of our cars, which means the 48 of Tobias Müller, fastest in the session, and that it also means that they are overall fastest for the moment after 2 qualifying sessions, with the Team Parker Racing 666 in 2nd position. There is the 48 of Lush Motorsport by Black Falcon. How many, is that just, they've got 4 cars, haven't they, Black Falcon here? Because they've got the Lush Motorsport, they've got the 2 Denner Motorsports, and then they've got their own. So a busy weekend for Black Falcon.
As ever.
Yes.
Would it even be a sports car race without a Black Falcon entry? I've asked myself so many times.
Second fastest in that session was Stephen Palette in the Red Ant Racing 24 car. So that was a very good effort by the Frenchman. But their average means that they are only down in 7th position right now. So they obviously had a slow first driver, or slower first driver. And then Harley Horton was 4th in that session. So good effort from the Brit. down in 8th for the moment. Now, don't forget that everybody in the top 10 have their lap times completely scrapped when we finish our qualifying session. Then we'll take a little bit of a break. I don't know what we'll do, but an hour later, we'll come back and we'll do the shootout.
Do you reckon?
Nah. Well, you will. Any opportunity.
Well, no, because we've got dinner later, haven't we? So
well,
we're
no,
not
but
going to do that. Maybe coffee and cake.
A coffee and cake. It's tea time. It will be tea time by that point.
You mentioned Jimmy Yeaber. He's in the Bascooten car number 3, currently 10th. He's going to be the last of the... Is he 10th? No, he's not. I missed that. My eyes deceive me. No, he's 14th. Now, Jimmy took an overall win in the Carrera Cup North America at Road America not so long ago. He's been doing really well in the class, but an overall winner is a great result for him this year. And at the moment, just as ever, with all of the field now into the pits, we are seeing drivers being swapped out. And this is the main one, isn't it, Ben? This is where you can claw it. You've got to claw it all back. This is where we need, and what we will probably see is our superstar hotshot drivers being taken out of their darkened rooms and plugged into these cars.
Well, who's being plugged into that? I imagine that is Dylan Pereira. They do actually have 4 drivers in the 48 machine, so they could plug in Carlos Rivas, who is their bronze driver. But I think they probably will choose their gold.
Yes, yeah, I think that would be the tactic.
Actually, no. Look at his gloves. It's unless Dylan has stolen Carlos's gloves, that is Carlos Rivas. So I don't know why you'd not put your gold in. Maybe Nick or Snowy are able to ask.
It's definitely got Rivas on the name. That's Carlos Rivas in the in that car. That's the it's number 48.
It is Carlos Rivas who's got into the 48 car. Tobias Muller's just jumped out and he's just said to go and get his lid off and have a very, very quick chat with the team and come back to me in a minute for a chat if we can. But no, you're right, it is Mr. Rivas into the number 48 car.
Okay, thank you, Snowy. And with everybody getting ready to go into the final 15-minute segment, only the grid will be formed from 11th place down over. From 11th to 25, this session will form the grid from those positions. However, the top 10 positions will go into a top 10 shootout. It's single lap qualifying. Each car, starting with the car that's qualified here in 10th place at the end of this one, they will start going 10, 9, 8, and so on and so forth. And it will be a 1-minute interval between cars, and that is a session that is made for television. We will have, in fact, I've got the times handy, Ben, so I'll grab the times of when that will be broadcast.
5 until 6, I think, local time. Although I'm not sure that works.
Joe, Ben, down to me if you've got a minute.
Let's go back down to Snowy, who's at the provisional pole car with 1 more session to go.
Thank you, gentlemen. I've just caught up with Tobias Muller. Very good first 2 sessions for your car.
Yeah, I mean, we are quite a strong team. I think we know that for the whole weekend, I think, and yeah, it was a really good surprise here with the rain for the qualifying sessions. Yeah, first in the rain was pole, now in the dry conditions was pole, and yeah, I think we can continue that for Q3 and of course for the top 10 shootout.
Very changeable conditions in that session too. And did you go out on slick straight away?
Yeah, we started on slicks straight, and yeah, I mean, it was a good decision. We can control a bit over the 4 or 5 push laps, and yeah, that was a good decision.
So it was a very tricky outlap, a bit careful.
But I mean, it was quite dry to be honest, and yeah, but I mean, you're a new driver for the stint then, and yeah, first you have to look where to go, and but it was nearly dry, so we can push directly.
So the car's been the fastest in the first 2 sessions. Can you carry the momentum into this session?
I mean, Carlos is at the wheel now. He's also a good driver here in Spa, and yeah, let's see what happens.
Tobias, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
But they've got a gold driver. Why are they not using the gold driver?
That was a question, Snowy.
They've got 0.8 of a second advantage, so maybe they don't need to use the gold driver.
Yeah, I mean, just because Carlos Rivas is a bronze driver, that just means he's inexperienced.
Yeah,
he hasn't quite got. I mean, he may have the pace.
He's not going to be Dylan Pereira though. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I absolutely do take that on board. The team that they brought here last year was Luke Hartog, Christopher Meese, Tobias Muller, and Noah Nagelsteig, and they took the win. 276 laps was the winning amount of laps last year. They had a lap lead on the next car, which was the Max Kreuzer Racing. They're not here this year. We're about to go ahead with qualifying 3. I can tell you now that the top 10 shootout is starting from 17:41. That's 5:41 or 5:40, let's call that, eh? Let's not be pedantic, where we'll be saying hello from the pit lane, and the qualifying show will begin. In fact, no, actually, 5:30 with a hang on, my eyes. 5:36 is the welcome to the top 10 shootout, and that's local time here in Belgium. So 4:36 if you're in the UK. You can work out your times around the world wherever you may be watching and listening from.
So you mentioned that Max Kreuzer Racing not here. They were second last year. The lineup, though, of Jaap van Rooyen, Tom Coronel and Paul Meyer is the same as what we have this year in the MDM motorsport car. Yeah. And they've added a bronze driver in Hans Weiss as their 4th driver. And you might go, well, hang on a second, there's a Hans Weiss Motorsport. Yes, there is, and Hans Weiss Motorsport. Hans is also driving in that car, so he's got double bubble. There's a couple of drivers I think I noticed that are doing double bubble, or certainly in terms of the entry list. Derna Motorsport have 2 Black Falcon run cars, and Nelson Montero Jr. is in both of the cars, and I'm not sure he's the only one. I think there's 1 or 2 others doing that as well. How that will actually play out in the end of the 12 hours, sorry, we will wait and see. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll actually get a run. A bit like the Nürburgring 24 hours, you can enter and have that driver as a safety, but then not actually use them.
Cars out on track on their outlap at the moment, with Fabian Danz now at the wheel of the number 9, the Red Camel car. That's currently in 3rd. The HRT Performance car in 6th place. That's the number 30. All these cars in the Pro class. Pedro Juan Moreno is in the number 30. The Red Ant Racing entry, car 24. That's in the Am Silver class. Mathieu Castellan is in that one. Sebastian Lejoux has taken out the Sevalju Racing entry number 888 numbered car. That car currently 5th overall and 2nd in the Am Silver class. And now the track becomes very, very packed indeed as people get on with it. Quite frankly, Ben, they're getting on with this session and what looks like a completely dry track now.
On board with the number 25 of Van Buller Motorsport by Bas Koeten Racing. They have Marcel Van Buller in the car for this particular session. Pre this session, 12th position for them, so just on that cusp. And we need to, as much as we are obviously interested in who's fastest, we need to watch that 10th, 11th, 12th battle, because that's the important one for getting into the shootouts or not. If you are 11th and further down, then you are staying in that position, and that's where you will start the race. But anyone in the top 10 will be in, and maybe that is the excuse. Maybe that's the reason why the 48 guys have put Carlos Rivas in, because they know that on an average across 3 different lap times, they're not going to lose 3.5 seconds, which would drop them to 10th. So they can save Dylan. I'm not sure he would need saving, but they could save him for the shootout a little bit later on. And presumably he's going to go up against Harry King, who would be in the 666 Team Parker Racing. He's the plug-in non-Japanese pro in that car. I'm quite excited to sort of see that Japanese car against the sort of the European establishment.
That car is still in the pit lane. Let's down to Nick.
Yeah, just kind of following on from some of the conversations you're having, and actually linking back to a conversation we had at lunchtime with Paul Truswell, obviously, who works with the Red Camel Jordan team. You know, he said that they were going to have their drivers going out in the session, but those tyres they practiced on, and it was originally going to be all dries, of course one set was wet, they were the tyres the drivers would have to use themselves at some point during the race. And the idea is, well, you know, you need to look after them. You can't abuse them because you'll be the one using them later. So perhaps the idea in putting Carlos Rivas out is not just because they know that they have plenty of time in hand, they're not going to lose 10 seconds in this session, but also to say, Carlos, these are your tyres, look after them, bring them up carefully, do a lap and come in.
That's not a regulation, Nick.
It's not a regulation, no, I'm saying, but it's tactical stuff for
you obviously
managers.
missed the conversation that we decided we weren't going to mention that, what Trussers had told us, because that is a personal team tactic that the Red Camels team is going to employ.
It's not really secret.
Well, he hasn't told it. He only told us. He hasn't told the other teams who might not be thinking in those ways. But there you go.
But don't ever do anything illegal, Nick.
Don't ever tell Nick anything in secret.
Because
don't tell Nick any secrets.
You get arrested for it. You're just going to.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, so last week Joe was doing. Oh, sorry.
You would be absolutely rubbish in an intelligence office, wouldn't you?
Oh dear. Lovely to have Nick Damon back in the pit lane in one of these Creventic races, although it's not officially a Creventic championship race. This is obviously the one-make Michelin 992 Endurance Cup organised by Creventic, and there is a healthy grid of 992 cars in the Creventic series, which has its next race at Barcelona.
And powered by Porsche, Ben.
And powered by, well, yes, of course it's powered by Porsche.
Of course it is, yes.
I mean, yes, I think the official name is powered by Porsche, but clearly, or powered by Porsche Motorsport, but there's a lot of Porsches out there and there's not a lot of anything else.
Second running of this event, Ben, and with, you know, you've got a lot of these Carrera Cup cars all over the world competing on a national basis, and then you've got a lot of drivers as well competing in these cars. The brand new 992 Carrera Cup car and the 992 GT3 are here. They are being shown in the paddock. Along with a lot of other Porsche enthusiast clubs and Porsche driving clubs that are here this weekend. More of that tomorrow, because that's when the majority of will be. And it's a popular car. Have you ever had any dealings with them? I did about almost 20 years ago now. We got involved in running a Carrera Cup car in the UK Carrera Cup Championship. There's a reason why they're so popular, Ben. They are absolutely, dare I say it, they're one of the most bulletproof cars that you'll ever run as a race team. They are absolutely beautiful cars to run, beautiful cars to work on, and of course the Porsche customer support mechanism that is there, that follows the National Series round. They're in this paddock. The spares truck, the technicians from Porsche are there, and they will be there to assist in every single way for their customers who are competing with these cars. It is a really, really good way of going motor racing.
And these opportunities to go endurance racing away from the Carrera Cup Championships, it's amazing that they're not, I mean, 25 cars is a good entry, but it's amazing there's not more support, because there are so many of them, and next year there'll be a slight evolution of this car for next year's Carrera Championship. So these cars will then become sort of defunct, although a lot of the parts on these cars will be relevant to next year's car.
I mean, 25 cars, a healthy grid. How many cars did we have last year? I think we had about 28.
Okay.
And you know, it's an event that's just building, isn't it? You know, this is only the second running. It's
we're not quite at the end of the championship year for many Carrera Cup teams, so you may not want to risk a 12 hours and then knowing that you've got your French Championship or your Benelux Championship next weekend, because a lot of these cars will be the same cars that are run in Carrera Cup, just with an endurance pack on them.
There's not much difference, though. The endurance pack not being in any way, shape or form any different, because the fueling is exactly the same. We have fueling in the pit lane here. If you are familiar with 24H Series racing, you'll know that we don't refuel in the pit lane, we refuel in the refueling area. None of that this weekend. Hence, we've got Snowy and Nick in the pit lane and looking very splendid in their fire suits, I've got to say. And it's exactly the same car. I mean, all right, we may have a different set up suspension geometry wise to make the tyres last a bit longer than, you know, the tyres only really need to last an hour though. 32 laps I think is a fuel run. 30 to 33 is the window I've been told.
That's quite,
so,
if these are not the H, that's quite a long time for the tyre though.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you are stretching that tyre. That would, you know, 25 laps, I think, is the average in a national series. But again, 25 laps, not round a 2.5 minute lap.
No, I mean,
a 25 laps round a 90-second lap.
Super Cup here would do 20 laps, perhaps?
Yeah, I think so.
Not much more than that.
Yeah, I think so. So we are stretching the elements a little bit.
Watch out for the 666. Harry King is in that car and has just gone fastest of everybody, doing a 19.3. That has put Team Parker to the head of the field as well on average, and I'm sure Harry can now park it because there's no way he's going to drop out of the top 10. Fulgenzi are on that bubble. They are 11th position right now. They've got Andrea Girondi in the car. Baz Kooten Racing, the number 3, is in 12th. Van Berlo Motorsport 13th, and Q1 Racing, the double 8 with Dylan Yip aboard that car, 14th position. That's really the battle to try and get into the top 10 shootout or not.
Andrea Girondi has just put the Fulgenzi car into the top 10. 10th place for the number 17. The lap time was a 2:22.491. It's given them an average of a 2:27.281. We're going to keep a very, very long look at that 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th places because it's all up for grab. But Girondi managing to get that car inside their qualifying day may not be over if it remains the same, and with 4.5 minutes of this qualifying session remaining, there's still time for that to change, Ben.
Well, the number 7 of Angelo Fontana was the one that dropped out, the Estonia Racing Machine. They're a pro car as well, and his final sector of the lap was not a green sector, so that is where he lost his time. In sector 1 of the lap now, and pushing again. Let's see if that first sector is green. We've got a purple from Paul Mayer in the MDM Motorsport. So the 127 driver, Paul Mayer, who is, I think, a bronze, is he not?
No, he's not.
No?
Can't be.
Is he a silver?
Paul Mayer's absolutely rapid.
Oh, yeah, he's a silver.
Yes, I was going to say.
But so he's on course for beating Harry King's pole time. Pedro Juan Moreno in 8th position overall. He's got an improvement. And Colin Winghausen is in the 39s in the first sector of the lap. So we're going to see an improvement for Baz Kooten, number 3 as well.
Strangely, we are not seeing very many green sectors and indeed purple sectors in the second sector on this lap. It's over a minute. It's the longest sector on the course. It's over a minute.
That's all the fiddly bits, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and it's a long lap, and there's a lot of technical stuff in there as well. The Paul Mayer car just coming through in sector 3 now to get towards ending the lap. We'll keep an eye. He went purple in sector 1. He hasn't gone purple, and he hasn't improved. 2:28. In fact, that was a cool down lap, Ben. He went purple in sector 1, and then he went off the boil massively in sector 3. So something's gone on there on that lap for Paul Mayer. Maybe it was a realization that being in 4th place overall, they are way off being knocked out of this top 10.
Two and a half minutes remaining of qualifying 3. We are getting to the sharp end of our qualifying session to set the grid from 11th downwards. The number 7 pro machine of EST1 Racing, quite a way off the other pro cars. We've got pro cars 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th and 6th. They're the white numbers you can see on your graphic. And as you can see, the Estonia number 7 down in 11th position. So lots of time to find. If you are watching us on the stream, we're following Baz Kooten, number 3. No improvement from Colin, who had a really good first sector and has got another better first sector of the lap. But it's the middle sector, as Joe said, that they are struggling to improve on. That's the one that's asking the most of the tyre, because it is everything from Les Combes all the way down to basically Stavelot. But Stavelot no longer exists, Ben. It's called Carl-Frère. Yes, that bit of the circuit. And basically it's every corner. So that's really asking everything of the tyres. Then after that, you've got you've got the chicane, you've got La Source, you've got Eau Rouge, and that's it, really, in the other 2 sectors of the lap. So the important bit is Sector 2, and Sector 2 is where the tyres are screaming no more. And I think that's where we are perhaps not going to see any more improvements. Harry King has the fastest lap of this session, and therefore the 666 on provisional pole. But don't forget, the top 10 have their times removed.
Inside the final minute then, and into the pits has indeed come Harry King. Team Parker Racing's 666 numbered car. They're happy with their average of 2:25. Remember, the first segment of this 3-segment qualifying process was on a very, very wet track, a completely different track to what we have now. As the other car into the pits, the red camel car, Fabian Dance calls it a day. They've got to be happy with that 3rd place. I know Paul Truswell was telling me he wasn't that bothered about getting through to the top 10. I think he was quite sort of quietly assured that that was going to happen with the Red Camel Jordan's NL car. Always a feature here. 3rd in last year's event, remember. 3rd podium for the 992 Endurance Cup 2024 for those guys. Still out on track though, Carlos Rivas. 2:24 was his last time round. He's gone a best lap of a 2:21.3, and they are currently 2nd overall. But just on the cusp then, Fugenzi take the checkered flag. They are one of the first cars, if not the first car, across the checkered flag. And at the moment, Ben, they are our final qualifier for this evening's top 10 shootout.
Yeah, that was a great effort from Girondi to bring them up into the top 10. It was good enough in this session only for something like 15th position. It's 15th fastest. As I say, Harry King was first fastest, Paul Meyer 2nd. Jimmy Yeebr was 3rd fastest in this session, but his car will only be 18th spot, and he came in quite early. One of our Brazilian machines comes across the line and takes the checkered flag. No improvement for that car, and so pretty much no green sectors out there. Carlos Rivas is still pushing on a lap, but I don't think we're going to see any improvements. So we can go down to Nick, and I guess you've got Harry King?
No. The people at the front don't matter. They're coming out again in an hour, aren't they? We're going to talk about the people who've managed to make that top 10 shootout. Andrea Girondi, you've managed to get the Fulgenzi car into the top 10 shootout after having to completely repair the car today.
Yes. The car was have reported big damage, but fortunately only outside, and the team make a great job. I was scary because the crash was, not bad, not good for myself, for my mentality after 2 days of testing. But I entered for last to remove all the scary by myself, and I'm happy. I'm very happy. Also, my teammate made a very good lap, so we are happy.
How was the track? Was it effectively completely dry when you went out?
No, now the track is pretty dry, so we drive well, but no, you can see a little of rain, a little of wet, but is totally dry now.
And which of you 3 drivers will do the shootout later?
Harley for sure. He is the silver driver, so he will make the very good lap. I wish, because it was like a 4th overall. So we'll see.
Andrea, thank you, and congratulations to Fulgenzi Racing.
Also, credit to their pit garage, because they've got a really smart pit garage, and their trucks look really nice as well.
They do.
Yep.
Really nice feature with that outside TV screen as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But even more of a well done to everybody at Fulgenzi is to get that car actually ready for qualifying. That car was very heavily damaged, as it turned out to be. Aesthetically damaged, as it turns out. It was mainly bodywork in the front right corner that was needed to be repaired, and we were chatting to them at the just in their pit garage just before the session, and they were telling me, in fact it was Andrea Girondi who was telling us that they were able to get that car out to complete its full qualifying session. As we have a look at the top 10 then, we will see out in our top 10 shootout later on this evening. It is Team Parker, their number 666 car will be at the top of the timing screens. It's followed by the 48 Lost Motorsport by Black Falcon. But before we do that, let's head back down to Nick, who's got someone else to talk to.
So, top of the session, Harry King in the 666 car, and of course you've bumped the team, well, you're all confidently into the top 10. Conditions out there?
Conditions for me were pretty simple. The track was completely dry, all bar a little bit of some little shady areas on track, but after many laps around this place, you soon figure that out. And yeah, felt comfortable in the car. I managed to deliver a lap. And to be honest, it's a big credit to my teammates and everybody involved, because we had a bit of a moment up at Rouge for one of our drivers yesterday, which meant we lost, nearly 3 hours of running. So we prioritised them in the free practice leading up to this point, and so far it's paid dividends. But of course, pole position's nice, but it means nothing ahead of the top 10 shootout coming up later.
Yeah, and the 48 car didn't put out their superstar Dylan Pereira, so it's all up in the grabs. I take it it's you going out in an hour's time.
I think it'll be a smart decision, yeah. And of course, yeah, me and Dylan, we were teammates back in Porsche Super Cup. He's been driving Cup cars longer than I've been driving race cars. So full respect to him. I look forward to having a bit of fun with him. I rate him very highly, and we had a great time during our years together at BWT Lechner Racing.
What do you think about these one-lap shootouts? Is it something you enjoy, a bit of extra fun, or something you could do without?
I think it's the coolest thrill of motorsport, to be honest. My Sundays is most people's Saturdays when it comes to top 10 shootout. But yeah, looking forward to it. I think there's no better feeling when you do deliver, and there's obviously a pretty bad feeling when you don't deliver. But I think it's the best place to put a driver in the spotlight and really challenge them for one lap.
Great stuff, Harry. Best of luck.
Thank you very much. See you
And
soon.
it's great for television. It absolutely is.
That is going to be our qualifying shootout, isn't it? Harry King versus Dylan Pereira, and you couldn't get much better in terms of quality. So the top 10 will have their times wiped out. There they are. That is what we've got in terms of an average, and quite a big difference between the 666 and the 48 in the end, but we did not see Dylan Pereira in that 48 car. Then we had Ray Camels, Tom Coronel's group of merry men, best in Pro-Am in 4th position, and we've got a couple of the Am Silvers going through into our top 10 shootout. Amazingly, we are missing one of our pro cars because the Estonia Racing, EST1 Racing, are only managed 11th position, and therefore that is where they will start. Remember those top 10? Here is the grid for tomorrow. Pro Estonia Racing in 11th position, then Bas Kooten Racing in 12th position, and Van Berlo, the second of our Pro-Am cars, 13th. Speed Lover 14th, and then you go down to Q1 Racing, the 56 car. Adrian Flack did the final session. That's the Am B pole car, and we've got 5 of those cars. GP Elite there in 16th spot. We've got both of our Brazilian Black Falcon machines, the Denner Motorsport machines, in 19th position, and then a little bit further down in 23rd position as well. 911 my favourite livery, in 20th spot there with their usual lineup of 4 German drivers. Mulder Motorsport 21st, Hans Weiss Motorsport, Denner Motorsport the second car, and then Team Lap Time, the last qualifier, with the Black Falcon 121 parked up in the garage, and we will see them out tomorrow as the 25th machine. I think car 21 has more than 2 drivers. Yes, there is one missing on that entry list, but that is your lineup from 11th down to 25th for the grid tomorrow, and we will have a top 10 shootout in around an hour's time. And a quick look, if you are on our stream, of the highlights of that session, which started in soggy conditions. First qualifying session with wet tyres on and a drying circuit, and in the end hunting around for some wet conditions to keep those wet tyres from overheating. Then we went to the dry tyres in qualifying 2, the sun being out. Tom Coronel was out in that second session, but didn't set the timing screens alight for him. And then in this third session of qualifying, we had, of course, Harry King getting the fastest time and provisional pole, but shootout later. Thanks very much to our team, Snowy and Nick Damon down in pit lane. Joe Bradley and myself, Ben Costenduris, have been with you for this qualifying session, and the 992 Endurance Cup Shootout is coming up in, well, yes, bang on an hour's time, so make sure you join us then.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural Michelin 992 Endurance Cup, powered by Porsche Motorsport. And we are ready for a brilliant day of motor racing. And this is a 12-hour straight-through race. The start of a brand new race, the Michelin 992 Endurance Cup, powered by Porsche Motorsport, is underway. The two blue and white cars at the front of the field.